I haven't added Mike in yet, and he keeps saying hello. But just for a bit of a drum roll, he's been at Twickenham all afternoon, so he is going to be absolutely leathered.
I'll leave him.
Leave him. Just leave him on. I'm the only one that gets to enjoy him supping on a John Smith or whatever it is.
He's been at the rugby. He's probably got a black eye, but nobody will report that.
He hasn't been. Yeah, here we go. Oh, I didn't diss him. Hello, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Hello.
Have you got the I'm trying to be a sober face on? How was the rugger, darling?
It was all right, I think, mate. It was all right. I avoided all the hedges. Bruce will be pleased.
You don't get any hedges.
Don't pretend like there's any green stuff in London, mate. It's all been knocked down in the name of progress. Chopped down.
I beg your pardon. That is Surrey, darling. Bruce Twickenham is Surrey.
It's quite leafy, actually. In a part.
It's in London, isn't it?
Twickenham's Surrey, isn't it?
Well, it's in London.
London's made up of more than one county. Even I know that.
There's green stuff in London, you know.
No, I'm saying that's actual. I think that's actual Surrey.
It is.
Like Kingston isn't technically London, is it? It's not in the.
I ain't got a clue, mate. I'm up north and I've stayed up north.
Sorry, mate.
I'm going to look at a map now. You've said that.
It's on Chertsey Road, which is where technically Charlie was born.
I'll be back in a bit.
Everywhere in London is technically in a county of some description.
But we should. Sup, boys. Yesterday's result sums up this brilliant season. One game a shit, the other, says Jack. John Lewis is getting into all this stuff. John Lewis says everything inside M25 is London. My Tesco's is not inside is not part of London, John.
Inside the M25.
It is. It's at Brooklands. And Daniel Lewis says a lot of white stuff in London too. It hasn't snowed for a while, actually, Dan. Right. Have you worked it out yet, Bruce? Because this is the stuff that you say that people really enjoy, this sort of pre-show amble.
It'd be more enjoyable than we start talking about yesterday's fucking...
We got too much to talk about. I don't think we'll talk about that.
I've had it with Hurst. Done.
First Hurst out. I think he's thinking Hurst out after that one.
Google Maps isn't working properly.
What do you mean?
I can't. I'm not trying to prove anything. I just thought it was in London.
Do you just want to trust me on it?
But,
that Twickenham is in London and also in Surrey.
You've got far better knowledge than I have, you lot.
Well, I'm going to say this: it's not even in
Surrey.
A county. It's not even in Surrey. It's in Middlesex.
Like I said, it's in London.
Brent saying Hurst out, Stockwell out, Scotch eggs out. Forgot his lucky pants. He did. Right. Okay. I've not got this all lined up already.
I'm beginning to think, that we need separate pod teams for the FA Cup reviews and the league reviews, because there's no way that if you ask me to talk about Luton, I can talk about Luton and yesterday's performance in the same podcast.
That's true.
I don't think I'll be able to do it. You'll just have to pretend that I'm a Colchester fan for 10 minutes, and I'll be dead excited about yesterday as well.
I mean, I don't even think Colchester fans were dead excited about yesterday. Let's be entirely honest. Like, even they went home going, fucking hell, that was hard work, and I've got to get back down to Essex.
Yeah,
did Colchester fans get excited about anything?
I thought you were going to ask, is Colchester in Essex? Because if not, I'm not sure.
It's not in London.
It's in Middlesex. Right, roll VT.
Open wide for some soccer!
And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! At 1130.
They've done it! They've done it! It's Maguire Drew! They've done it again, this team!
What a magnificent piece of football!
Really, really good goal!
You can't let this one go down. Grimsby are heading back to the Football League.
Love it.
Good evening, everybody. The professional part starts now. I still think that that podcast theme tune sort of writes checks we can't cash. People think it sounds quite professional, and it just comes into us bundling into an office. Rich is here in a very romantic setting. It's very settled for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's not intentional. It's bad lighting in my my home office stroke spare room.
Well, they're all home offices. This is not under the stairs. This is an official recording studio. And Mike has just gone pure red light district, I think, with the lighting in the background. How's everything with you?
You mean he's been in the red light district?
I'm all right. I'm in my lad's room, so I don't know what that's.
I didn't know Chertsey can't have a red light district. Great. Well, I'm good. How was? Yeah, we've already done the rugby thing, haven't we? They won, didn't they?
Yeah. Hello.
Did they win?
Yeah.
Who were they playing?
Well, only Italy.
Oh, okay. Did they win well?
What do you want me to review? Yeah, it was a bit poor, but we won quite
Colchester reviewing it.
It was a bit stop-start, a bit slow, but we ground it out.
Oh well, that is a definite Colchester review of yesterday. And Bruce, how are you?
Isn't Italy like playing Dover at home? Is that right? Is that a fair sort of comparison? If you get beat,
Dover is not in Italy.
It used to be, Bruce, but they're a lot better than they used to be. Used to be
or
that they could.
Or are we not as good as we used to be?
No, they used to be all right for 60 minutes and then tired, and then most people scored the points in the last 20, but they're better than that now.
All right, I've heard enough. Thank you. Hiya, Alex. I'm all right, thanks.
And when do they get to play St. Helens in the final? Right. Anyway, we've got to talk about Colchester. Okay, I don't know what else we can say about it, really. It was shit. Really shit for everybody. Atmosphere was shit. Pitch was shit. Ref was shit. Players were shit. But I don't think there was much in it between the two of them. They were both shit. Did Colchester actually have another shot on target?
No, I was looking at this. They had one. I think. Did they?
Yeah, I think Matt J. Just after they scored, they had a nice little layoff from McKindy through on the 18-yard line, and then Croker made a nice save in the first half. That's the only one I remember. I
can only remember Clifton shooting on target for us. I don't think we had another shot on target.
Oh, you're straight down the keeper's throat.
Yeah, the daisy cutter.
Oh yeah, it was not worth writing home about, but Bruce, it felt inevitable, didn't it? After this week,
that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. It was shit.
I'm not looking for it.
Yes, it was. In Grimsby past, it was. It was inevitable, but it was absolutely bloody appalling. I mean, I've paid my season ticket up front, like a lot of people have that go to the games, and yeah, it was poor, and our hit and miss performances are grating with me. You know, I've no doubt that we'll be all right. You know, and we need to strengthen and this and that and the other and stuff, but we are very Jekyll and Hyde, aren't we?
What do you think it's down to?
I don't know. I've done some research though. I've got some. I felt like, and I've thought it for a while. I remembered a few seasons when Hurst was here before. We had a season where we were a lot better away from home than we were at home, and so I've done a little bit of analysis, boss. Guess how, over all the points that Paul Hurst has accumulated while he's been in sole charge, which is approximately because
this sounds a lot of work.
Well, it was because I wanted to work out how much better or worse we are at home than we are away under Paul Hurst. Right, we've picked up approximately 374 points. I say approximately because I couldn't be asked to work out. Rob Scott was sacked in the 5th of September or something, so we'd probably played about 5 games or something. I couldn't be asked to work that out, so I counted that as a full season. So we've picked up 374 points under Paul Hurst in 6 full or part seasons. Guess how many more points we've scored at home than away?
I'd have thought we'd be massively in favour of an away team, and I think that's just us more than Paul Hurst. So I'd say what, a 70-30 split.
Well, the way it's been teed up, I'm guessing.
You've already done this for a reason, Bruce. So
Yeah.
I honestly thought, and I'm telling you, we are better at home, which is what you would expect you should be, but we're better over the course of that by 16 points.
Wow.
That's
Do you remember
down the middle, then, isn't it?
There was a season.
We had one season. We had one season where we won. Well, we've had 3 seasons where we've picked up, but 2 of them have been part seasons. Admittedly, one of them this season where we've picked up more points away from home than we have at home. When we got promoted back to the league, when he left in October time, we were better away from home in the league that season than we were at home.
So we make 2.6. Yeah, 2.6 points more per season at home. Is that a win?
We've picked up. That sounds like I've done some work I didn't need to do. We've won double the amount of games away from home this season than we've won at home, 6 against 3. And there was another season where we had an exceptional away record, won 13, drawn 7, lost 3. And we lost 7 games at home that season. So I didn't have the time and the patience to look at whether that's just football in general now. And teams, that the old home and away thing isn't such a difference now. But are we struggling because we're not creative enough at home, but we've got players that can hit teams? Like we scored that first goal at Crewe last week with the counter attack. There was.
I feel we're definitely a counter attack team.
There were 2 of our players in their half. Are we struggling against teams I know we're struggling against teams that come and park the bus at Blundell Park, and that's why people have been crying out for Alex Hunt because.
Showed them, didn't he?
No, whether he's. No, I was going to say whether it's. You've talked before about whether he's better on the bench, a better player on the bench, because we all want him on the pitch. Yeah. But are we setting up teams, and have we set up teams historically that have struggled to break teams down? We haven't got that. We haven't got the creativity or the finishing maybe this year, but we didn't create a lot of chances yesterday. I think it was more about the fact we didn't. Like I say, we just didn't create, not finishing.
I think there's a few reasons. I think, firstly, if we've got more points away from home under Paul Hurst, I think, generally speaking, any other football club, that's to even be 50-50 or anywhere near there is a big thing, because you would automatically think you get more points at home. And I think there's a couple of reasons. I think, firstly, the opposition we've been playing. Remember, most of Paul Hurst's time has been in the National League, so we've been playing poorer teams. I think there's an element of we're a team that is a lot better without the ball, and I think you see that against teams like Luton. I think we're better without the ball and not having most of the possession. I think we break quite well. I don't think we maintain phases of play as well as we should. But secondly, I think there's an element of crowds away from home and at home. I think yesterday you saw, for example, it was very quiet. I think actually you heard quite a lot of getting on the players' back from various sides of the stadium, but and I think away from home we take a lot. And if you're going to a small ground, which we've invariably been playing at in these 2 leagues, League 2 and National League, you take 1,500 people away from home, it's like a home crowd. And I think the guys that go away from home, I think, create an atmosphere where teams go that little bit extra. So I think there's a couple of reasons, but more than 50-50 away wins is really surprising. That's quite a big thing, I think.
We've won 6 of 19 games in the Football League when he's been in charge. I'm not like I say, this isn't a dig at Paul Hurst, but we've won 6 of 19 home games in his 2 spells in the Football League. Admittedly, they're both short, which is why we've only played 19. But that's not far off sort of 2/3 of a season of home games. And we've won 6. And I think yesterday I sit in the lower, and the lower can be very. It's a bit different to the main stand in the anger, but I didn't see a lot of getting on the players' backs yesterday. I saw quite a lot of encouragement. I know you maybe.
Yeah, I think I would say there was one bloke on the commentary behind it who was moaning and whining. I don't know what it was like ever, but someone did say there were boos. I can't remember. Simon Hodgson said people actually booed at halftime and full time. I don't know, like with you as well, Rich, and stuff. I don't know.
I heard a few boos. I thought maybe that was reserved for the officials, the linesmen.
Halftime. It was definitely reserved for the officials.
Yeah, the linesman in front of the lower missed a couple of things that in particular were sort of like a yard or 2 in front of him, and that seemed to sort of rile the fans up. But yeah, going back to this home and away thing, I think there was a season. I think it was the first full season in charge that Scott and Hurst had. We were sort of like the highest scorers in Europe at home. It was the season when we had Elding and Hearn up front, and we'd scored about 50 odd goals by January. And we were scoring 7 against Stockport. We were scoring 5, 6, 7 against Alfreton. And even a season or two later, we were still knocking them in against. I think we beat Halifax 7-0 in the promotion season. We won 6-1 at Gateshead. And when they first arrived from Boston, I remember they came with sort of Boston fans saying, these two managers get this team scoring a lot of goals. And I think kind of looking back now and how we've evolved under Hurst over 2 spells, is certainly sort of grinding it down and down and down and down into like we say, this counter-attacking team that's molded in the shape of his personality. And whereas I think when he was joint manager with Rob Scott, we were far more attacking. The tactic used to be quite simply hit it quite direct into the final third and win the second ball and keep it in the final third. And it was very effective in those early days under their stewardship. And I think we've obviously adapted. Football's changed over the last 10 years. And obviously Hurst has a way, and he got us out of the non-league twice. So you can't be too critical of it, but it's not this sort of swashbuckling. It's not Alan Buckley pass and move, is it? And it's not this sort of all-out attack or even sort of 50-50 attack. I think it's becoming more evident now that there's a certain way to it. And, it's hard to be too critical because overall, he's doing a good job. And it's just hard when you see a performance like yesterday to see where that next exciting performance is going to come from. However, there was, you just only have to go back to Crewe, the game before, nice 3-0 away win. That was a wonderful performance. So yeah, how much is this down to sort of potential negative tactics or just, I don't know, the players playing within themselves a little bit, or maybe they were just knackered after Tuesday. I don't know.
I just don't think anyone came out with any sort of. I saw Sam of this parish go for Hunt, and I don't think Hunt was amazing, but I don't think he did any worse or any better than anybody else. I think Walter will be disappointed he missed the header for the goal, and I think Crocombe will be disappointed that he came for it and didn't get to it. I think Efete will be annoyed that he missed what was a pretty easy opportunity, considering he'd stopped the ball and then had the opportunity to blast it. But again, it would hit the bodies. It could even hit bodies just as much. But I don't know. It just felt really poor yesterday. Lots of misplaced passes, lots of players getting on each other's backs, lots of whinging and whining at each other. I saw quite a few of them. McAtee's always has become quite prevalent for that. But I saw quite a lot of them doing it yesterday, sort of like, come on, quicker, faster. And that's good. You need the leaders, but it just felt a little bit disjointed and a bit very after Lord Mayor Sher, as people were saying. But I don't know. Are we in trouble?
I saw him put his arm around Lloyd a couple of times, McAtee, and just encourage him.
Lloyd didn't get anything yesterday.
No.
Well, Emmanuel was quiet. The two loanees. Emmanuel's not a loanee, but the two that we've got till the end of the season, they were both brilliant the week before, and neither of them played on Tuesday, so tiredness wasn't an issue for them, and they struggled yesterday. Emmanuel wasn't a patch on the way what he did the week before. Now maybe with his lack of football that he's played, he's going to be inconsistent, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried, but we're sliding down the league, aren't we? And yes, there's still a bit of a gap, but we just need to pick up 2 or 3 results in a row, and it puts pressure. If you don't pick up points at home, it puts pressure on you going and winning I know they lost at Mansfield yesterday, but I've been having a read, and Gillingham's fans weren't too disheartened, and they said that Mansfield were a well organised top playoff side. But it just puts pressure on them, and they're saying that their home form should be good enough, and bring on Grimsby. And if we go and lose again there, then that's 2 more games gone, and we've not picked up any points. And I know we do flip, as fans this season more than ever. We seem to be flipping from high to low, but I think that only follows the team's performances.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Andrew says the goal was offside. I don't think it was offside. I thought it was fine. I don't know what everybody else thought. I went back and had a look. I know Tonda was saying it might have been offside because Crocombe had come out, but there was enough guys towards the back. I felt Colchester did really well at closing us down there and got in on our faces and changed it. And I think they're in a bit of a false position now, given the players they've brought in. And I don't know, because we've got 5 games in hand on Colchester, we could be in a false position too. But we could do a Rochdale, which used to be their thing, and they used to pile up the league, or we could lose all 4 games in hand and then be shitting it. But I don't know.
Well, if we lose all 4 games in hand, we're still 6, 7, 8 points outside the relegation zone. So I mean, I understand people are getting a little bit nervy, but I don't agree with that. I think yesterday struck me as a typical 4th division game where if it was 0-0 or you snuck a 1-0 win, you wouldn't be disappointed. I think the only thing that separated it in a poor game was an error at a set piece. And I think if you go in 0-0, you would take that and say it was a terrible game and we'll have the 0-0. I think we're a very competitive side, so I wouldn't start to worry. I think we're quite capable of going away to Gillingham on Tuesday and bagging a result. So I think it's one of those, a bit after the Lord Mayor's show, talking about Hunt, I don't think that was a game of football that anybody really could get involved in. I think it was actually screaming out for Grimsby playing in there because there was no football played. And I think after 5 minutes, you sort of saw the way that game was going is what they were about and how that game was going to go, and it didn't change for the next 85 minutes. It was a very turgid affair.
Could you imagine what would have happened if that was the game and that was a performance that came first after the January transfer window shut? We got the Crew performance and it just sort of like reaffirmed that Hurst has done some good business, and then we got this performance. I mean, imagine if they were the other way around and we were waiting for the Crew. I mean, because I think yesterday would have been a lot worse had that been on the back of the January transfer window closing. I think there would have been a few more boos than there were yesterday. But as things played out, it's kind of gone the right way around, I think. Albeit you never want to lose a game. But yeah, this Gillingham game's going to be quite interesting.
Really quickly, the way I would summarise it really quickly is we're just as close as we are. We're as close to the relegation as we are to the promotion. We're in neither a battle for either of those positions.
Bruce, this is an opportunity for you to have this is your palate cleanser. This is your sorbet. If we want to go rugby, we'll be back with James from the ME7 podcast to preview our Valentine's Day loving with me, Mike and Bruce, shivering together for warmth in the worst football stand in Europe. And we'll be right back with you.
Behind, so that's the final action of the game, which means Grimsby Town are back in the Football League just a year after those awful scenes.
I seem to be going for an idea of us insulting teams before they come on, which seemed to work really well with Luton when they decided to then both podcasts seem to throw their toys at the pram. James, welcome to the show. How is everything down that way? the nondescript area of the southeast.
We're all right. We love our away stand, so that's perfectly fine.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, that's a sit in the thing.
It gets you guys wet, so we could care less.
No, what can we say, Bruce? The roof. When was that invented? The Middle Ages. I think even the caves had roofs back for cavemen, didn't they? At them and Stockport. It's basically just Bromley.
It's been a temporary stand for 15 years. That's fine.
We were trying to work out how many stadiums. So, yeah. Go on then.
Sorry, mate. You would say it's made for non-league, wouldn't you?
It
Fighting talk.
Do you know what? Even Bromley, even Weymouth has a roof. Let's just list the non-league grounds we've been to that have got roofs.
We've been all night, you know.
Even National League North Scunthorpe have got a roof.
I've been to Scunthorpe.
Well, how is everything down there? Apparently, well, you guys are an entirely different team, so I don't really know why we've got you on, because I guess you've seen your new team twice now. What's going on? Because you seem to be quite happy down there now, even though staring Bromley in the face.
Yeah. I mean, well, we've seen our new side four times now since the order signings are in, because even though January sort of ended a couple of weeks ago now. The majority of the business was done sort of mid window. So the bulk of the team that has been playing for us has been playing since sort of mid-January, hence why we've been on such a good run, really. That got we got brought down to earth with quite a bang yesterday afternoon to say, yeah, you're good, but you're not that good. And Mansfield were decent, to be fair, yesterday. I tip them from promotion. They were definitely one of the better sides that we've played. But look, things are good. Things are good. I know that obviously we're still 2 points clear of the relegation zone, but I'm going to sit here now and be pretty confident that we're not going to go down this year. We've got far too much strength in depth in that side, and when we're bringing Aidan O'Brien and Jules Lapsley off the bench, I think that says all you probably need to know. The team just need to click, and it will take a little bit of time. When you're signing 11 new players in January, it's going to take time to click, but it will click.
Is there a worry that the amount you've had to pay, I imagine you've had to pay quite a pretty penny for the 11 players you've got to sort of like, look, even if the shit hits the fan and we do go down, you're not either going to have to stay with us or you're going to be paid handsomely, so it isn't a problem. Has there been any worries about that from your side of things, that this has been, we've had to throw so much cash at the wall to avoid it? Felt it, to not to be rude, it felt very panicky. I mean, organized panic, but look, we need to throw quite a lot at this to make sure we don't get dragged into it. And trust me, don't go there. It's terrible.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Alex. It had to be done. It had to be done because the fact of the matter is that we'd scored 7 goals in 23 games. That is pathetic. Like it's sort of like Sunday league level laughable. And had Brad Ganson not come in, we were done. Like there was only one team. There was only one other space that was going to be up for grabs in that League Two relegation zone before we were taken over, because we were taking one of them. There was no doubt about it. I think, we've done a lot of business in January, but I think it's smart business. Tom Nichols is one of the best strikers you'll get at this level. Tim Diang was in the League Two Team of the Year with the promoted Exeter side last year. Jules Lapsley and Ollie Hawkins are both more than adequate players at this level. And then we've bulked it out with youngsters as well. So I think it's been smart business. Brad has been asked, our new owner, about if you drop to the conference, what is your plans? And he's just like, I'll just have to kind of take the hit and whatever we need to get out of it, we'll get out of it. But I think the club have done enough good enough business for us not to be in that position. I will be absolutely amazed if we are in the National League by the 9th of May, put it that way.
Just think of all the short journeys you'll be able to make. There are so Dorking, Woking, Aldershot.
Yeah.
Dover might be back up there. You've got so many you can enjoy. I can't think of any more, Mike. I've wiped them off my head. Why are you down there then? What put you down there in the first place? And also the other question I want to ask is, why haven't you bought Jake Hessenthaler yet? Because that screams Gillingham, doesn't it, Bruce?
I'd rather not. He went to Woking for a reason.
Well, I'd love to see you two go. Woking are 4th in the National League at the moment? They're all right.
Yeah, they probably are. Not for me. He played up well over 100 games for us, and absolutely, fine. But we needed to move on from Jake. In answer to your first question, Alex, why are we down there? At the start of the season, we were promised adequate recruitment, both on and off the pitch, and we just never got it. The recruitment was wrong. From the old head of recruitment in Nicky Shorey. off the pitch, it was a mess. The club were a state. I think the old chairman Paul Scally, had given up, and then the fans had given up, and then the team had given up, and ultimately we'd gone and then signed free agents that were effectively non-league footballers, and we were quite frankly pathetic. I've been going 20 odd years, and the team at the start of the season, the first half of the season, was the worst Gillingham side I've ever seen in the history of me going. They were awful. They couldn't. They could defend. They couldn't score though. Any chance that they got, it was just absolutely wasteful. It was mismanagement. It was both on and off the pitch. It was lack of structure. It was an ownership that didn't want to be there. It was a fan base that didn't really care, and it was a set of players that didn't really give a damn. They were picking up a wage, and that was it. But luckily, we had an American owner who is, quite frankly, a beautiful man, and he's come forward and gets it. You often see, you look at Crawley. Look at the state of what Crawley are in at the moment. We've got the other side of it, is that we've got a man who gets it. He gets the heart of the Gillingham community, and his full focus was to put the focus onto the pitch, and he's gone and done that. And then the pay what you can against Crawley was another initiative that was brilliant. And we are in. You look at the table and you think, why are you so happy? But honestly, we are in such a good place at the moment. Such a good place.
I think it'll be two of Rochdale, Harrogate, Hartlepool, and Crawley that go down. Personally, I think like you say, I think you'll be all right. I'd rather we pick up some points quickly so it doesn't become any sort of issue. But we have got a fair gap at the moment.
Yeah, I think you'll be okay. I think you will be okay.
Just on a separate note, is there another ticket offer on Tuesday? Because I saw you had a sellout against Crawley, didn't you? Was that a result of an offer?
That was pay what you can. So it was a minimum of £1, and then anyone could sort of pay what they wanted from £1 all the way up to the maximum ticket price, and that was offered to Crawley as well. I can't believe they only brought 750 fans for a 45-minute journey, which was surprising. There isn't a ticket offer on Tuesday, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw an increased attendance, just to the sheer fact of the fans wanting to get behind the team. We took near enough 650 to Mansfield yesterday, which is an incredible attendance for a 7.5 hour round trip.
Yeah, I heard one of your guys on the on TalkSport in the week, and he was saying the average was actually £1.50 paid by everybody. So and he said that you can only do it twice a season. So it'd be interesting to see if yourselves and other people try that again, how it works out. Obviously, from that instance, people haven't paid much, but average is £1.50. So it'd be interesting to see on a wider scale how that goes.
If I'd have paid £1.50 for the Colchester game yesterday, I bet the ticket office still asking for money back.
He did mention that they'd sort of made more money back on the food and then the merchandise and everything like that. He also basically did say to myself that because we have as the podcast, we have quite a close relationship with Paul Fisher, the COO, and Brad Gallison himself. We're quite close. We speak all the time, and his aim for it wasn't at all to make money out of it. It was to get the fans back to Priestfield and to increase the attendances.
Of course, it's probably weighted with all the Crawley fans paying £1. That probably weights it against it as well. But it's interesting to see if it gets people through the door as well. So it's an interesting initiative.
If it was £1.50, like you say, it sounds like if that's what people were paying on average, then it sounds from the outside like a lot of people taking advantage of they didn't pay a £5 or a £10. They were paying £2 or £3. You know, it's like it smacks of people. Like you say, it'll be interesting to see. Now they've got to pay 20. I mean, I think the reason I asked if there was an offer, and it's maybe something you do permanently. I paid £22 for my ticket, and my daughter's under 14 was free. Is that always free for kids? Is that what you do?
Yeah, we do that. Yeah, all our under 14s are free. Yeah,
That's good. That I like that. But it'd be interesting to see, like you say, how many of the adults come back when they've got to pay £22.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to see how many Town fans are going to be trying to get in as under fucking 14 on Tuesday night.
Alex, you think we can do it, mate?
I'm already shaving this beard off. I'm ready to go. I'm going to stand on walk on my knees up to the ticket office and ask for my free ticket.
We'll have a go on Tuesday, yeah?
So, James, where do we park? There'll be more Town fans than you'd imagine going, I'd reckon. Where do they need to go? Where do they park? I don't know Gillingham for the life of them.
You can park at Woodland Sports Centre. So that's £3 for parking. Or there are lots of as you come into Gillingham, by the ground there's a railway track, and just over the railway track there's lots of side roads on your right hand side, and down the side roads it's all free parking. So you can park sort of anywhere along there. So they're the sort of best places.
Sounds cracking. Who do we have to watch for then? And how do we beat you?
Run at us. It appears. One to watch is probably Tom Nichols. He's got 3 goals in his first 5 games. I'm sure you may have come across him when he was at Crawley. Little nippy little striker, clever, plays on the shoulder, and he'll be one to watch. Our tactic seems to be that we sort of play off Ollie Hawkins. So what Hartlepool made the mistake of was that they stuck 3 players on Ollie Hawkins, and they all lost their headers all of the time, meaning that basically all of the other players had a free roam. What I would suggest Grimsby not to do that, not to go and stick 2 or 3 players on Ollie Hawkins on Tuesday night, because 9 times out of 10 they're probably just going to lose the battle. What Mansfield did really, really well yesterday was that they just stuck their 6'5" centre half on him and went 1v1 in a situation and dealt with him really, really well. The moment you start sticking 2 or 3 on him, it allows other players freedom. A youngster that's been starting regularly is Dom Jeffries. He was Brentford B captain last season and has been widely tipped to make the Welsh national squad in future months. So he's a runner. He likes to travel with the ball quite a lot. We will be like any sort of League 2 team. We will be direct. We will play in the channels. And once the Rainier men sort of get behind the team, that sort of drives them towards goal. We've got a decent home record, but we need to win Tuesday night. It's a massive game for us. These next 2 games are huge, absolutely huge. The one Tuesday night and the one Saturday against Rochdale. They're massive games. You could be playing a Gillingham side that, honestly, if they're hurting, which they should be, we could be dangerous on Tuesday night, because I've got a feeling we might come at Grimsby.
Bruce, did you have a question, or were you just stretching?
No, I was waving to Kyle.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, well, that's it. James, thank you so much for spending some time with us. It'll be interesting to see what happens on Tuesday night. Let's just hope it doesn't rain.
All the best, guys.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Right, Bruce, it's a different room. Luton. Tell us. Build yourself up to it. Is he gone?
He's so depressed, isn't he? Look at him. Just
I'm
hello,
sorry.
darkness, my
didn't
old
dis-
friend.
Something's happened.
Hang on.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
you're all good.
Phoenix Knights. Yeah, I don't think you gave me. I needed about half an hour to warm up to that. Yeah, it was very good.
Sorry. I'll go to Rich first. No, you stop. We'll hear about you in a minute. Then you like Rich will set the scene and be
Sam
your
in?
warm up act.
No, Rich can,
Yeah,
Rich can just tell you about it.
I'm the appetizer, am I? I didn't go. So
Fuck's sake.
what can I say? I would have loved to have gone. It was Tuesday night. I struggle with the midweek one, so I listened to it. It's funny. My son, who's 4, started reception year in September, and it was a different school from his preschool, where he had a best friend called Matilda, and her dad is a massive Luton fan. So we bonded a little bit. Obviously, their clubs moved on a bit and left us sort of in non-league when we first met. So he knew exactly, what we were going through, and we wondered how long it would be before we met again. Obviously, it happened quite quickly, and obviously after the 2-2 draw, bit of banter, he really fancied the replay. He really thought that was the warning, and Luton weren't going to mess around this time. And then they made 6 changes, and we won 3-0. I mean, even irrespective of the changes, I still don't think people would have expected 3-0. Certainly not in the manner that we got the 3 goals in the first half as well. I think he was shell shocked. I think he just maybe shocked that that his club had sort of treated that game not as a priority. I think they were all quite keen to get a match against Southampton for the obvious reason that they were managed by Nathan Jones, or were managed by Nathan Jones. So that's not going to happen on 2 levels now. But yeah, I can't tell you any more about the 3-0. Only that I was listening to the commentary while I was also trying to read my son a bedtime story.
It is absolute madness that we couldn't watch it anywhere. I mean, the amount of streams we were looking at, being in France, you get quite a lot of streams available to you. And there was none. There was nothing anywhere. It wasn't even on Honolulu. It wasn't, on a Chinese website, betting syndicate or anything like that. It was nowhere. It was absolute ludicrous. And I understand people's frustration when Wrexham got so much love and adoration on that night, as we sort of smashed a better team in the league and got very little for it. And you could see that it was totally underestimated. The FA Cup they were waiting on the club to send them the videos so they could start marketing it. But what a night. It was incredible. It's weird to think a win against Luton is be held in such high esteem for a lot of fans, but to win 3-0 was pretty spectacular. Bruce, what were your thoughts on it? You've had time now. You're a professional. You'll do this.
I was pleased for the youngsters that haven't tasted anything like this, that have just known town be shit for the last 20 years. Delighted for them that, we saw late 80s, early 90s. We got to the 5th round 3 times in about 5 years, which is mental, maybe a little bit longer. But so I was really pleased for them. I do remember one of my thoughts from the game with about 5 minutes to go. I thought, well, at least we shouldn't lose now, 3-0 up. I think I've heard other people say that they were counting it down in chunks, and I did have that feeling that with them being a decent side, that if they'd have got one back in like the 75th minute, they could have the ability to score a second quite quickly, and then we'd all be absolutely hanging out for 3 minutes of stoppage time. But yeah, as it was, they sort of began to sort of look like they didn't think they could get back into it. They did bring on that lad up front who's pretty decent, but they didn't really have too much. They didn't really have too many chances. Really, it was very odd. I think we scored at very good times. I mean, the 3rd goal, I was in the bar getting a pint. I did see it on telly, which was more than I guess you guys could. But yeah, all in all, more comfortable than it probably should have been. And like I say, it sets up a nice trip to Luton on a Wednesday night in the FA Cup 5th round.
Southampton,
sorry. Yeah.
What was the was it a sense of relief when the referee put up a 3 minutes for no explicable reason?
I think by that point, even they didn't complain. I think it was just like even we're not going to score. We're not going to score 3 against these lads in like the last few minutes. But yeah, it was a surprise because we'd we'd been doing the old shithousery that you've been encouraging, and Max is very,
Max
useful at.
Cramcombe.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So there had been quite a lot of that. There'd been a few injuries. There'd been lots of substitutions. So yeah, to see 3 minutes smacked of a referee that wanted to get his fish and chips and go home.
Who were the standout performances? Because all we could hear was Tonda. So I mean, John does a great job, but again, it does sound like it's on our line for 95 minutes, even when they're taking a throw in. But who were the standout performers for you that night?
Now you are challenging me, because all I can see is players running around in treacle yesterday. It was they were all an 8 out of 10. How about
Good.
that?
So over the week, they've averaged a 6 out of 10. Is basically what we're saying.
Are we giving them 4s for yesterday?
I mean, they're lucky.
I see we didn't get any points yesterday, but we won Footy Scran, didn't we?
Oh, did we? Oh, good. That's
Have you seen
point.
that?
That's been out for a while.
Slipway's latest offering's gone viral.
I saw it was in the Sun.
Well, that's all right. I'll maybe viral's the wrong word then.
Well, it's kind of like a viral disease, so here, right? Everybody's come back. Kyle, Ollie, Andrew all say Orsi was superb and was brilliant. Have we now finally unleashed this guy who has been struggling to get into the side? And is it unfair that he isn't getting the time in the league that he deserves if these performances are as good as these guys are saying?
I think he'll play Tuesday.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that
he went back to Crew, didn't he? He went back to the Crew team on Saturday, and I think away from home, I actually feel better about Tuesday, having listened to James talking about it with the way that they play, because I was just picturing this centre forward that they play off up against Luke Waterfall, who won the most aerial battles, I think, last season in the National League. So that sounds, we won't put 3 or 4 on him. We'll just put Luke Waterfall on him. And teams that run at them, well, we were just talking about how we're a counter-attacking side, aren't we? With Clifton running with the ball and McAtee, hopefully, and we're playing off Orsi. It might be a half decent game, because we should be hurting as well. And I think Hurst will, send a few out with a bit of a rocket up their asses, or he should do.
Did we have anything from? So obviously Southampton awaits on the Wednesday night. I assume, are we all going? Are we all able to make it? Quite a bit of. I mean, me and Mike are cheating, but there's quite a bit of issue. There's a lot of annoyance, not just from this club, but from others. A 5th round games are midweek, and even for people coming from London, the last train back to Southampton is 10 o'clock at night. So it's not an easy ride for even of us down here in the utopia of the southeast, where everything's connected 24 hours a day.
Does it get decided on the night as well, so it could go to penalties?
Yeah.
So then your 10 o'clock train back's a bit tight, isn't it? If it does go all the way.
It does, yeah. Especially us. We like to do it, nice and easy.
I'll be renting out the spare bed in my Premier Inn room to some bloody Southern Mariner. I can see it now.
Yeah.
They've got more money than we have, though. There's more money down south. It'll be costing them the full room price.
I just imagine a town fan getting too drunk and ending up on the Isle of Wight. Like that it was when they went to Portsmouth and they booked a hotel that was 6 miles from the stadium, and it was in the Isle of Wight.
Don't they say, going back even further, that when Celtic won the first British, I think I could be wrong, somebody will say I'm wrong, it might be Man United, but I'm sure Celtic won the first European Cup in 1967 or something, and they reckon that some of the fans never came back from Lisbon or something.
Did they not? They're still there. Opened up a bar.
Third generation now.
We just got pissed and we just ended up staying at this person's house. Well, it's a good one. And I guess, though, the changes today, anyone who doesn't know, Nathan Jones has already been sacked by Southampton. I was kind of clinging on to the idea that he might stay and the players might down tools. Has that diminished our chances? I mean, talking about, beating a Premier League team.
Yeah, I think so. I think with him in charge, I genuinely thought we'd have a chance to, compete, not being so ballsy to say we were going to go there and win. But I think with him in charge, and they looked a bit of a shambles yesterday, didn't they, against Wolves? It's one of those games where you could kind of quite take it quite late, where Hurst could have come into his, he's be in his element, taking the game really, really deep and clinging on and maybe nicking it at the end or taking it to extra time, and then our confidence goes through the roof if it goes to extra time because last summer I genuinely would have fancied it if it went to extra time, just purely on those 3 games last season. So I think whoever they appoint, I don't really know who's likely, what the odds are on the new manager.
Kyle
I just think they've changed. Is it?
Oh.
So, that's suicide, then, isn't it?
They just recycle managers, don't they? Just go round and round.
We can't talk about that. We can't talk about recycling managers.
I'll tell you what I will say though. I had this conversation to my dad, who's now wearing 2 hearing aids, and he's found the button on the remote control which says loud as hell. I'm watching Match of the Day last night, and he was talking about the Southampton manager, will he stay and everything. And I said, sometimes at Premier League, the players, I think, sense that owners will quite happily sack managers, so the players give up. They start playing for their manager much, much easier. And then you listen to the fans forum, our fans forum in midweek. If you're a Grimsby Town player, you kind of know that Paul Hurst isn't going anywhere. So if you don't pull your weight and play for Paul Hurst, you're going to leave the club. Whereas I think the higher up you go, so high. But Nathan Jones was an example. I think that the Premier League players like Ward Prowse, I'm not suggesting he's that type of player, but for example, he will probably get a Premier League club if they go down next season. And it's very easy to switch off and just go, I'll stop playing for this manager, because they'll sack the manager, they'll get another one, we can all have a fresh start. So I found that interesting. My dad sort of brought that up and I kind of agreed with him.
Yeah, you're probably about right. I mean, that's a nice little link into. Does anybody want to add anything else on Luton? If not, we can move on to the fans forum. I think that's a good sort of segue.
Just before we do, just finishing on Southampton, I've spoken to, obviously know quite a lot of fans like the rest of you do. No, it's the Cockerill Derby, isn't it? But I've spoken to quite a few fans, and whether it's just a reflection of the hardcore nature of the people that I sort of mix with, but I don't see too many that have been put off by it being on a midweek. I see a lot of people taking the kids out of school, booking 2 days, booking a hotel, taking 2 days off work, organising coaches and minibuses and things like that. I did think we might only take sort of 2,000. I'm now thinking it could be somewhere 3.5, maybe. Am I being over ambitious, do you think?
I would be really impressed with that. If you think we can take what, 800 to Bromley on a Tuesday night. So you imagine 60-70% of that are London Mariners. You can probably get 1,000, 1,200 like southern-based Mariners, and Southampton's pretty centrally located to the south coast. And then you've got everybody else coming down from up north as well. I think everyone who wants a ticket will get one, but I don't think there'll be many spare.
That'd be really good if we're anywhere 480 holes. I mean, if we can get anything over 3,500, that would be decent. But I'd like you say, I'd love to see us take 4,000 on a. I think there'd be good respect for that as well.
Are you going back to the club anytime between now and Tuesday? Are you going there tomorrow?
No, I've only got one more day. I'm heading down Tuesday morning, Anna. So I've only got one day at work. I'm not due there tomorrow.
I was going to say, I didn't know if you could get us a Harry Haddock. How much are they?
I can go and get you a haddock if you want one.
If anyone goes, I'll say you, because everyone is very lovely on this podcast, but I know what will happen when I go to Gillingham. I'll have 15 packs of Harry Haddocks, and they'll all want paying, and rightly so.
I've got your ticket, haven't I?
You did.
I'll just add it to your debt.
Add it to the tab, please, sir.
Yeah.
I won't be able to find him, Bristol. I've broken down, lads. It's fans forum though. That was pretty good, wasn't it? I thought it. I mean, they couldn't have held it a better night. Let's be entirely honest. But all in all, it was worth the time, and I think the club could probably put that out as a podcast. And if they need any help, we can help.
Yeah, I think it was good. I think going back to what Rich said, it'd been interesting to see how it would have been if we hadn't have had the 2 results we did leading into it. But I think if you compare that to the similar events we've had in the past, I think it's chalk and cheese, and that's reassuring. Honest answers, lots of ground covered that's already been covered, I must say. But still, honest answers given to direct questions. My biggest takeaway from that, though, was actually was from Paul Hurst. You don't hear too much from Paul other than the 5 or 10 minutes before and after a game, and I think his explanation of the transfer window and what's going on behind the scenes sort of lifted a lid a little bit from the problems we do have and the work that is going on, and I think that's very much needed. I'd like to see a bit more of that, but also, we saw a little bit of a lighter side of Paul Hurst. I know people like to push this narrative that he's a Yorkshireman, so he must be dull, and he does come across as.
I mean, we've got a lot of evidence to suggest that's true.
Yeah, but I mean, getting away from the 5 or 10 minutes before and after a game, I think you can see there's a reason that players speak highly of him and players want to play for him, because there is a bit about him, and obviously you don't get where he's got without having that. And it was just nice to see that, and I'd like to see that a little bit more. But yeah, good event. Good questions, good answers. Yeah, pretty positive from my point of view.
I thought that Paul Hurst looks like a man who's very comfortable and is not sort of treading a line and worrying whether he's going to get sacked anytime soon. Because we all know what happened last winter, where there was a lot of discussion and debate around his future. And in retrospect, we find out from Jason and Andrew that it was never really a discussion. It was never really brought up that Paul Hurst was going to continue being the manager. And I think you look at him there, and there's a guy who's not just the football manager. He seems to almost be leading, almost like as a consultant for the 1878 partners, in that they're looking to him for guidance on what the football club needs on the football side of things. Because you hear Jason say all the time, like, we're not football people, we're the football fans, but we don't know how a football club is run. So we look to Paul and we look to Chris Doig, and we need their guidance. So I think Paul Hurst is in a position where he's the football manager, but he's also, suggesting, not perhaps getting everything he wants, but he's in quite a strong position, I think. I think they'll be careful not to make sure he's not too embedded. Anything catastrophic happens, that they have an option to do something about it. But he looks like a man who's quite relaxed and comfortable in his position. I think that comes down from the top. You're working for some people who understand how much trust takes you, and I think that Paul Hurst looks like a man who's trusted to do a good job and has got the backing that he needs. In a sensible level of trust.
And I think that plays in really well to what you were saying a minute ago about, if you're a player looking at Paul Hurst, you think, right, well, I better start playing because he ain't going anywhere. Well, he might go somewhere, but he ain't going anywhere for fickle reasons like some managers do. I think you're right about making sure that it isn't just accepted that he's a fixture and fitting. He has to turn out results. But I also think we saw last year a little bit of an element of how, if you give a manager time to turn things around and to develop a squad and develop a culture and develop a way of playing, then I think that's always going to be beneficial to you, other than the 6-game losing streak merry-go-round of managers out as soon as they start losing games. And I think that's a positive, because other people would have sacked him last winter, and then where would we have been then? And I think that's without going too far about giving somebody a job for life, I think there is something to be said about sticking with the man you've trusted to do that job through a bit of a sticky patch.
I think the thing is, as well, we've lost quite a lot of football experience from within the off the pitch areas. The likes of Ian Fleming. All right, Dave Smith was in commercial, but he's been around football. I'm sure they all work together, in the offices. Who's been doing the negotiations, when we got as far as salaries and stuff like that. Who have we got doing that sort of thing now? Because the people that used to get involved in that sort of thing aren't there. So, like Rich says, is Hursty getting more involved in that? If Jason and people like that, and Debbie's not got a lot of football, she's only got the football experience from the last 18 months or whatever, so it'd be interesting to know who's doing that.
Was there anything mentioned about sorry, I went away. So was there anything mentioned about Hurst's discussion, sort of extrapolating the transfer window, because I thought that was a really interesting piece for everybody to listen to, not even just Town fans, but to see how it worked. To go from sort of 22 strikers, and you basically had 3 sort of offers that were, I see it quite a lot, on Reddit and stuff. These are me applying for a job, CV sent, not interviews given, and one successful. It felt very much like that in terms of what he was discussing.
Yeah, it gave you a bit of an insight, didn't it? Instead of us all just sitting around chatting and making it up like, oh, he's down to the bottom of his list. Well, what happens is he obviously has a list of players, and he'll take any one of those players off the list. It's not like a hierarchy. So that was quite interesting. I did like the fact, and we've spoken about this before, where he sort of knocked on the head all this rubbish about the head of recruitment. The guy's been in for a short space of time, and giving him a list of players, that's the end of his job. So I like the fact he sort of put a pin in that one and actually expanded how that fella's been helping quite a lot. But yeah, from our, as fans, we don't see a lot of what goes on at transfer. We can just guess, and it was quite good to get a little bit of a lift, the hood lifted on that. And I think me and Bruce, we did a space, didn't we, on deadline day, mate? And we spoke about, because we have lost a lot of this football experience, maybe there is an element of, it's like a new car, trying to find out how it works from the owners. And I would like to hopefully think that maybe the next sort of 6 months or so, maybe there might be a little bit of experience put in there on a footballing side too, because you don't want Paul Hurst managing the team, doing all the training, and then getting down to the nitty gritty about contracts, because that's, it's not a good use of his time. So hopefully they can get some people in to do that.
Yeah, all in all, genuinely lovely, and only ruined by Colchester and the performance there. Rich, what were you going to add? We'll start wrapping up in a second.
Yeah, it's just a very quick one. I think that you looked 2 years ago when Paul Hurst came in and had a January transfer. Or did he have a January transfer window? I think he did. Yeah, and you look at, like,
that was with Coates and Lewis and stuff, wasn't it?
Exactly. Like he made a couple of good signings, signings that he clearly wanted to make, and then there was a raft of others that probably were dregs that he's like passed up this time round. 2 years on, he's it's a big thing that you only want to sign players that want to be here and stuff. And I think 2 years ago, out of necessity, he just signed, like, Stephen Payne and stuff, like just anyone and everyone. And it wasn't so much of a focus on the culture of the club. It wasn't so much a focus on, have they got the personality to fit in? It was just anyone they could get hold of. And I think we all saw the consequences of that, is that he failed to unite a team, albeit there were some nuggets of good players in there, like Jay Matete and Mene Esse on loan and that kind of stuff. But that's where I listened to James earlier, and Gilliam signing 11 players. You can sign 11 players, but how many of those were like your top strike? We've done it before. We've signed a raft of players and still gone down. So it's exciting because you've got something different, but it doesn't necessarily that different delivers.
And yesterday showed that as well. We put on quite a lot of new players, and there was a point in which I think John Tonda made a point of saying, look, and Gary Croft was saying, these players have probably not played that much together. And you could tell in terms of their cohesiveness. And when he was throwing on Orsi and he was throwing on Lloyd and Dixon Peters, I keep thinking of the bloke from Tottenham. And, it was surprising. There just wasn't there. Sorry, Bruce, what were you going to say?
No, it's all right, mate. I was just waiting until you finish. I was going to mention that earlier, actually, that we made, was it 4 substitutions in one go?
We did, yeah. No, 4.
We made 4, didn't we? 2 of the worst performances that I've seen this season from Town were Colchester and probably Barrow away. And we did the same thing in those games with about 20 minutes left. I think we brought on, the 3 young kids that we had on loan. We had before, like we had Richardson, Simmons and Peppel. We slung all them on at Barrow when we were creating nothing. It was almost a little bit desperation. Like, I don't really know. I don't know what to do to fix this on the day. And yesterday it was like we made 1 sub at half time. Then we took off Hunt, and then we brought the other 4 on all at once. And we didn't really create. It didn't really change the game, and it didn't really change the game at Barrow doing it like that. So it'd be interesting to see when things aren't going right, whether he does the same, whether he would do the same again, because we had McAtee in midfield in the end, didn't we? Or just behind the front 2 of Orsi and who was up there by then, the Norwich lad, Dixon Peters, I think. And O'Neill was actually in midfield when he was on. You know, we just looked disjointed, and it didn't help in our quest to get back in the game. And the same thing happened at Barrow. I don't know if it's happened on other occasions when we've been losing, but they're the two that stand out for that I can remember. And it seemed a little bit in hope rather than anything else.
I think there's an element of that game being so poor. And if we'd carried on, we could have played till today and would still not have scored. It's just, rolling the dice, change as many as I can, see if that changes the game. And it just didn't. And it just disrupted us. Not that there was much disrupt, but, an unjointed performance came even more unjointed. But you could see what he's doing. The game's terrible. He's trying to just change it. Does that change how we're playing? And it just didn't.
Ben asked if we'd reached out to the board for an interview yet. We haven't done, actually, Ben. And to be honest, in credit to them, they tend to be the one that reach out to us and say, "Oh, look, do you guys want to have a chat?" We're going to be up in Grimsby. We haven't confirmed it yet, but there will be the N35 pod that we'll do at the tap room at Doc's Beers. We just haven't confirmed the date. I think we've got one penciled in, but I think we just need to confirm it with everybody. So we might do something around that weekend, which is sort of the last weekend of the season. Do an interview with that instead of watch the coronation or the conoration, as they decided to design it and put it out as. So we might do that instead. I think that's it, isn't it, gentlemen? Well, I guess the thing is to now is we've got. I did a bit of pre-work, so we did an interview with the Cobblers podcast for Northampton. So we're going to do a preview of that, and we'll all bugger off and go about our day. So we'll leave it with that, really. Would you want to interview her, said Squarehead? Absolutely, 100%. And I think after considering how comfortable he was, I think I'd love to have him on and just get a little bit more of that side of him, because it'd be quite interesting.
It's whether he'd do it, isn't it? It doesn't strike me as the sort of bloke that would, but I think we'd all be absolutely up for that.
I could take him to the cricket club.
Let's not do that.
I don't think he knows what a podcast is.
No, that's probably true. Thank God. Chasing down them all. We will. Yeah, absolutely, Simon. We'll see you all at Priestfield. Have a good one. And with that, we will leave you with the guys from me doing an interview earlier. See you later. Bye. As if we did any sort of preparation for this, we're joined by Charles from the Cobblers to Me podcast, who sweep all awards behind them and whose ideas we steal left, right, and centre. Charles, it's great to have you on board. Nice to see you. How are things going down at Old Sixfields?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me. It's a bit weird, I'll be honest, at the moment. I'm not feeling the most positive that I ever have done over the course of the last, I suppose, 2 seasons, really, to be fair. It all probably looks a lot rosier than I feel it is. And, you'll tell me that I should probably be a bit happier, 4th in the league. Only a point off automatics at the moment with a game in hand. And yet, I can't help but feel like we're not going to make it, and that it's going to be another year of disappointment come the end of it. That's how you've caught me, basically, Alex, is in a world of pessimism and doom and gloom.
The general consensus we've had among our with sort of my team, and I'm sure the podcast might tell us otherwise, and I might bring this up with them, is that the general quality in the league is pretty poor. Mm-hmm. There isn't any sort of one team that is playing decent sort of football, and it seems almost just an addition to non-league to National League, that as long as you've got a team that have got a decent set piece on them, can defend well, and probably has a guy that's half decent up front, then you're fine, and you might well sneak in, because I don't feel like we're miles off, but we're 18th or whatever it is.
It's weird, isn't it? I think I agree with you. Leighton Orient fans will probably sort of say, well, hang on a minute, look how good we were in the first half of the season and all this, that and the other. But I mean, I can only really judge them based on when we've played them. We drew 0-0 at their place and then beat them 1-0 at Sixfields over the Christmas period. So I didn't think that they were particularly brilliant. Not when you look at, say, Forest Green last year, who really did run away with it all. And okay, they had a little bit of a blip over the second half of the season, but they never really lost the title. They came close to. Exeter nearly caught them, but they'd have needed to have gone on for another couple of weeks for that to actually have happened. So, yeah, this season, I think you're right. I don't think there is any really good team in the division at all. I include ourselves in that. We played Rochdale on Saturday, and obviously they're bottom of the league. We're in fourth. Second half, you wouldn't have known it was that way around. Rochdale came out the guns really, really, really well in the second half. Like Jim Bentley had given them a rocket up their bum. And we just basically sat back shell-shocked and let them go ahead and score. And we had no intent until the last sort of, I want to say, maybe 10 minutes. And it's so frustrating because we are a better side than Rochdale. Clearly we are, because we controlled the first half. We just didn't really go and do anything with the ball to try and score, which is the frustrating thing about it. And when you look at it like that, I appreciate that, you know, your fans will be listening and you'll be sort of going, well, you're not that good then if you can't score, which is, you know, I completely agree with that. And like the fact that we've had Sam Hoskins firing until recent weeks, I almost feel like saying that that's hidden, you know, kind of brushed everything else under the carpet that's gone wrong so far this season for us. Because Hoskins has been on fire, he's saved us and he's got all those points for us. Not on his own, obviously, but without his goals, we'd probably be where you are. So it does make you sort of go, are we really that good? Do we really deserve to get promoted this season? Time will tell. There's still obviously lots of games to play and lots of points to play for, but yeah, it's just that you've caught me the day after drawing 1-1 against the bottom of the league Rochdale, who weren't very good at all, that I'm just feeling particularly annoyed, and I need to vent, Alex. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, if this is a therapy this is a therapy session for most town fans, so it's not a problem if you want to join in. It's we're in a weird hill to land at the moment as well. You know, FA Cup is a massive distraction for us, and come out of smashing Luton 3-0, and then you knew full well the writing was on the wall that we would lose 1-0 to Colchester. The only thing that didn't happen, which I would have put money on, was Akindi getting a penalty and sticking it away. But it's an interesting one for most, I think, at the moment. And I guess the question is, for those of us who don't visit Northampton far too often, sort of how is the club now? Because the last time I left it, you had a half-built ground. The council were looking to wrap you up. What's the sort of situation off the pitch as well?
Okay, strap yourself in.
Okay,
we've got a story for you. Right, okay, so if we go back 10 years, our previous owners, the Cardozas, got a loan from the council, which I think was up towards about the £12 million mark in total that we would have got from them. We got to the point where we'd actually drawn £10.25 million of that money down, when all of a sudden the company that were building the stand, the East Stand, down tools, and it turned out they'd not been being paid. And all of a sudden, the questions were asked, well, where's the money gone? What's going on? Oh my God, basically. Since then, we had new owners in 2015. Came in, I want to say the beginning of the November. The first round of the FA Cup, I think it was the first round. It might have been the second round. We were away at Coventry in that game. And we all felt as fans that was the last game that we were ever going to see us play. That's how bad it was. We all went
this year.
No, sorry, 2015.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay.
So we're still going back a bit. And luckily, we had new owners come in not long after that. The owners that we've got now. They cleared up all the debt. They sorted, all the payout for the players and the staff at the football club, and everything felt like it was going to be a lot rosier. And don't get me wrong, it is. But we're 8 years on from that now, and the stand is still basically how it was when they took over the club. They did put the seats back into it, so we're not three-sided. So at least you can use it, but there's no cladding around the stand. There's nothing there. So if you are sat in the East Stand, which if you bring a decent enough crowd down, then some of you might be. That's like the overflow area, about 200 seats that you might get.
Okay.
If you sell the initial 1,000. And if you don't, by the way, and you only bring 30 to 40, like some of the teams like Salford and Sutton and those smaller clubs bring, then you get shoved in the corner of the East Stand anyway. But I'm sure you guys will bring a fair few more than about 200, hopefully anyway.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, and yeah, so you basically you get freezing cold because the wind just comes at all angles for you.
Sounds tropical for Mariners, I'll be entirely honest.
Yeah, there's no sea breeze, I'm afraid, though. I'm afraid.
Oh, that's a
one
shame.
of those. But we've been trying to get the portion of land that is out the back of the East Stand, so where the old athletics track was. The football club owners have been trying to buy that land in order to have it developed to fund the completion of that stand, to also clear the debt that the football club has. Now, I will say, all of the debt is just direct loans back to the owners of the club. So we don't owe anybody outside of the football club any money whatsoever, as far as I'm aware, and as far as the balance sheet shows. So it's not like a Southend situation where we're owing HMRC or anything like that. There's been an awful lot go on. The supporters' trust has been at loggerheads with the football club's owners for some time. They don't agree with the way that the football club owners were going about doing things. The football club ownership have basically come out and rubbished the supporters' trust. There's a real divide in between that. There's not a divide in the fan base, because essentially the supporters' trust is a small minority of fans. If you go to a game at Sixfields, you don't have anybody booing the owners or anything like that. There's no real division there. But there's a select band of people that really don't agree with it. And because it's not happened yet, and because the stand hasn't been finished yet, I get it. They want the stand finished. They came in, these owners in 2015, said they had money and that they would sort out the stand. They haven't yet, and that's what's driven all of this angst, basically. So when you come, you'll see a Sixfields that you're used to seeing, except for the fact that the East Stand doesn't have a back to it. So that's essentially where we're at the moment. Now, hopefully, there's so much, Alex. If you want to find out more, rather than listen to me bang on, just Google it, because there is so much. There's a judicial review over the sale of the land to the club going through that a third party questioned. So there's loads of stuff about it, and there's absolutely no way that we've got time to go through it all. But essentially, we've got, 4 sides to our ground. It's just that one of them is breezy.
Fine. I mean, we could probably say the same. I guess then, how's Ben Fox settling in? I saw he scored yesterday. The only player we weren't able to keep on the books from last season. I think, and a lot of people were quite disappointed by that, but I think location played a key part in that rather than anything else, I'd like to think. But how's he been settling in? Because he's a quality player. Yeah,
he is. He's fantastic, and he's been great for us so far. A couple of wobbles. He got sent off. I think that was against Leyton Orient.
Good lad.
Silly thing. He shouldn't, in my view, it wasn't a red card challenge, and he shouldn't have got sent off. But he did. That's that. He picked up an injury early on in the season that was supposed to keep him out for about 6 months. And yet 2 weeks later, he was back in the starting lineup. So either the injury wasn't as bad as everybody expected it to be and thought it would be, or he's got some kind of super healing power that, Superman would be proud of. He has been, on the pitch, one of our best players. Looking at last season, the thing that held us back, apart from Bristol Rovers scoring 7 on the last day, was a lack of depth in the squad, and particularly in midfield. So over the summer, that was the big thing that had to be addressed, and it was addressed, and part of that was with Ben Fox coming in. He has been... I don't know, he's a player that can pretty much do it all. He can be your defensive midfielder. He can do the passing and be your playmaker if you need him to be. He can be the box-to-box midfielder, and he can be your attacking midfielder. He is great in any area in the middle of the park. And he's done so well for us. He scored a few goals. The best one was against Rochdale yesterday. I actually had to watch it again. I was there at the game, and I didn't know the goal had been scored. I don't know if you see the highlights, you'll see the goal go in, and then it takes a good 5 seconds before you hear any cheering from the away fans. And that's because we all thought it had hit the side netting and rolled
and sort of wrapped around the back of the Okay, yeah.
It was only when Tete Yengi, our striker, actually went and picked the ball out of the back of the net and was running back to the halfway line with it that we realised it had gone in, and that's when the cheers went up. But if you've not seen the goal, go and have a look. It's on YouTube. Just go to the Northampton Town YouTube channel and watch the highlights from the game. It's a strike and a half. It really is. Good. It flashes past O'Donnell in Rochdale's goal. It's a really good one. It's a shame that it was basically the only flipping good thing that we did yesterday. But there you go.
This is becoming a question then I ask quite a lot, and I've got to find a better way of putting it. But say, for example, you were put in, you got a job at Grimsby Town tomorrow. You're Paul Hurst coaching analyst, and you need to break down how best to beat Northampton. How do they go about doing it?
Basically say, come on then, try and break us down, because we can't, because that's the issue that we've got. So if I was Paul Hurst, I'd be just saying, right, let them have the ball. Let them try and, we'll sit in this whole fashionable thing of saying a low block now and all this, when basically just sit in your 4-4-2 or whatever formation it is and stay in those positions. And basically make them try and play through you. Make them try and break you down and do it. And if they can, then great. But I don't, based on yesterday's game, if you do that and you do it well, and you look to break us on the counter, that's your best chance of winning the game. Most of the teams that have come and beaten us at Sixfields have only won by a goal. So I'm thinking Salford did it, Doncaster did it earlier in the season. And both times the way that they did it was they just went and sat back, tried to soak up the pressure, and then hit us on a counter-attack. Or in Doncaster's case, they got a penalty, which was... It was a penalty. I'm not disputing that. It was just annoying the way that we gave it away. It was a silly tackle that shouldn't have happened. If you do that, then you'll basically come for a point and see if you can snatch all three, because that's what everybody else does, and some of them seem to get away with it.
It actually sounds like that'll play into our hands. We seem to win. We actually win more games when we have less possession than if we have more. So. We'd quite enjoy it. Beating you guys away and losing to Gillingham is exactly what I imagine next week will look like. It's an interesting one. Who's the guys we need to look out for? Obviously Hoskins scored at our place, but is there anyone else we need to be sort of wary of?
I'm going to go to our new signings here, because hopefully come Saturday, we'll actually
Is this out of hope
them.
Or
no? They come with a lot of expectations. So we signed 2 forwards on deadline day. So we've taken Tete Yengi, who is a tall Australian target man from Ipswich Town. He played, I think it was in the Finnish leagues last season. Great foot for a big man, as they would say. He's got lovely footwork. He's very good. He is a target man, but he's also very good in with his feet. When he came on against Rochdale, it changed the complexion of the game a little bit. I think we went 4-4-2, and we had him up top with Hoskins running off of him and looking for those flick-ons, and suddenly we looked dangerous, which was nice. So that hopefully will happen. And then the other one to really watch out for is DiMaggio Wright Phillips. So he is the grandson of Ian Wright. He is Sean Wright Phillips' son. We take him on loan from Stoke.
That's not on. What is that? I saw your granddad play. No, exactly. I'm not having that.
Exactly. It's horrible, isn't it? Really is horrible. But he is, he was playing in the Stoke first team. And he was getting game time. So it took some convincing to get him to come down on loan to us, but he has. He just needs to actually be given the chance to come on. He could have won it against Rochdale. He broke free from a Yengi header on, showed some lovely skill, and it was just O'Donnell just came out and smothered him basically and made a good save. But I'd expect if he gets that chance again, the ball will be going in the back of the net quite easily. So he's definitely one to watch. If not for his actual skill, then for the fact that his lineage is obviously there, and it'll be one of those players I'm sure in years to come we'll be watching in the Premier League.
It sounds like a sort of player that we'd end up having, because we do like a sort of son of a former player. I think there was a point in which we had like four of them on the books. Got Jake Hessenthaler, who was Andy Hessenthaler's son. Matty Pollock, who was Man City player Pollock. I can't remember who that is. His son. And there was a couple of others as well, all in the same team. It was quite good. It was like a Masters team reversed. I guess the last question is: so we're being told to expect chaos on Saturday because it's our game's at 2, rugby's at 3.
Yeah.
What are your secrets to parking and where to go? And are we just is this being over dramatized?
Yeah, it's over dramatic. Really is, to be honest.
Okay, good.
There's plenty of parking. I would personally go and park in what is known as the North Stand car park. So it's where the Sixfields Tavern pub is. There's a bowling alley, I think, up there as well, a gym and a Pizza Hut, and another pub called the Walter Tull. There's a big car park that is basically sandwiched in between those things, so that little bit of retail leisure area and the stadium. Park there, you won't have a problem. There are other car parks, and there's probably car parks that Grimsby Town will tell you to go and park in that are closer to the rugby ground than they are to Sixfields, and that will give you a long walk. So if you've got like, I don't know, you're taking your older dad with you, or someone that you don't particularly want to have to walk a mile to the ground, go to the North Stand car park, go there. It's a gravel car park. I want to say it's £4 to park. I might be wrong.
Okay.
It might be 3, but yeah, £3 or £4 to park.
Sounds
in
a
there.
bargain.
And then the only thing then you've got to do is you've got to walk back up the hill to get to it at the end of your defeat. But it's one of those.
Anything is better than when we played Rotherham at the Don Valley Stadium and we lost 4-1, and they made you exit walking around the edge of the running track, which is at the top of the pitch. So, and it's a good sort of 600 yards, I'd imagine, all the way around. So all you were doing is getting pelters all the way around to exit. So anything is better than that. But great, Charles, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy Saturday. Ben Fox gets to see what he misses, and we'll probably get on the wrong bus in his little Polo. But we'll see. Thank you very much for having us.
Cheers, Alex.
See ya.
Open wide for some soccer!
And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! 1130